grudge, which was titled Bloomberg racist led against India. But just a few hours ago, something has happened. There was a serious security breach in the Prime Minister's cavalcade in Punjab. So before we get into the subject which was supposed to be, can you give the viewers a basic idea as to what has happened and what are the series of events that are there, so that we at least have a little bit of a discussion on that too.
Yeah, so the Prime Minister was visiting Punjab as the Prime Minister of India. It was not a party political rally, it was a Government of India public event where he was to unveil development projects for Punjab. Now, the event was supposed to be attended by the Chief Minister of Punjab, other senior ministers of the Prime Minister's Council of Ministers, and it was a public event that had been announced and it had been planned for some time. Um, Unfortunately, this morning the weather was inclement, and the Prime Minister, who was initially supposed to take a helicopter ride from Bhatinda Airport to the venue, he had to change his plans, and they decided to go by road. And this change in plans was immediately communicated with sufficient time to Punjab Police and the Punjab government, that is the Chief Secretary of the state. And yet, halfway through, or rather just short of the venue, uh, the cavalcade was stopped by a group of protesters. They were pretty nasty. They had brought in vehicles, tractors, buses, etc. And the Prime Minister had to wait there for 20 minutes while the security detail, the SPG detail, tried to contact the Chief Minister, the Chief Minister's office. Everybody was incommunicado, nobody could be contacted. And finally, the Prime Minister's cavalcade had to turn around and return to Bhatinda Airport. And that's how the story ends. Now, what is very obvious is that somebody had leaked, because only the Punjab police and the Chief Secretary of Punjab government would have known about the alternative plans which were figured out and the route he would be taking. So clearly, someone had leaked those plans, and someone had actually gone out and organized that crowd, very vicious crowd. And this is nothing but compromising the security of the Prime Minister of India. Now, forget that he is Narendra Modi, forget the party in power. It is the Prime Minister of India whose security was imperiled in the state of Punjab, and by going by evidence so far out over there, it is very clear that the state government, senior officials of the state government, and the state police were in cahoots in creating the situation which would have turned really, really nasty.
Now, what stands out to me in this entire situation is, obviously, as you have explained, the leaks are shocking. What is even more shocking is the reply that has come from the Honorable Chief Minister of Punjab, who says, "Oh, I could not make it there because I had a come in close contact with COVID positive people." But he was doing this press conference where apparently there are so many other people around him, so I don't get it. So it was all that. And then there were some disgusting remarks by the Youth Congress president, who said,
How's the Josh?
yeah, how's the Josh? I mean, I want to be very Modi ji, how's the Josh? Srinivas BV. And then there are some absurd statements out there. I mean, is there any line in politics, Dada, do you think, that is left now in this nation?
No, see, try to understand. This is not the first time the Prime Minister has faced protesters. You're welcome to call him a dictator, an autocrat, whatever, but he has never shown any hesitation in being in a situation which has protesters. Various visits of his to Tamil Nadu, for instance, the roads have been lined with protesters. So let us not get into that zone. The point is, over here in Tamil Nadu or in any other state, never ever has the Prime Minister's route been compromised. This is unthinkable. This is not about politics. This is about uh, uh, debasing and perverting a basic security system, which, as I said, if it had turned nasty, if it had turned bad over there, the consequences would have been devastating. No one thought of it. And the Congress being so openly complicit, it's amazing. It's totally surprising.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the kind of replies I saw online and kind of brazen defense by some of the people on Twitter just makes me wonder where we are going and where we are heading. But another thing that scares me at the same time is that how should the nation now, at the end of the day, he's prime minister of the nation. So how should we as a nation now be reacting to this then? How do, because I was concerned, obviously, my prime minister.
No, Kushal, we should be worried. As I said, forget that it is Narendra Modi, forget it is a BJP government. The very fact that the security of the Prime Minister of the country was so brazenly and so horribly compromised should worry each one of us. That too because there's a history to it. A sitting Prime Minister, a serving Prime Minister, was assassinated in this country. I'm referring to Mrs. Indira Gandhi. A former Prime
Yeah.
Minister of this country, Rajiv Gandhi, was blown up by in a bomb attack by the LTTE, in a suicide bomb attack by the LTTE. There have been numerous other cases of such assassinations in our country, political assassinations. I am too old to not remember the assassination of Lalit Narayan Mishra and several others. Cairo was killed, the serving Chief Minister of Punjab, Congress Chief Minister of Punjab. Another Congress Chief Minister of Punjab was blown up in a car bomb attack. So, given this background, given this history, for the Congress to do something so dastardly and even have the party spokesperson sort of justifying it, and the Chief Minister comes and says, "Oh, sorry, I couldn't go there because I had people around me have tested positive for COVID," and the man comes in and addresses a press conference without even so much as wearing a mask.
Hmm.
Whom are they trying to fool?
Yeah, it's a disgraceful day for our country. I don't know what kind of political discourse we are heading towards, and I mean the some of the defenses that I've seen. I mean, it's not, I mean we should be worried about. Look, I don't care. He's the Prime Minister of India. As long as I am a citizen of this country, it doesn't matter where my political leanings lie. But the Prime Minister's position and the security of the Prime Minister and some basic protocol and some basic lines, non-negotiables have to be respected. If this is all it has come down to, I don't know where we're heading. To be very honest, the Congress party, their behavior, उसको हिंदी में कहेंगे बद से बदतर होते जा रहे हैं एंड आई डोंट नो क्या बोले एंड आई डोंट नो heads are going to roll or not. आप क्या लगता है कि they will find another scapegoat in some police official and will be
Yeah,
like, look, we
they
have
will.
action.
Yeah, they will suspend some petty police officer, the district police officer, or something. But that doesn't address the very genuine concerns, very serious concerns that have come up today. Look, there is no love loss between the BJP and the TMC. There is no love loss between the central government and the West Bengal government. But never ever has any visit of the Prime Minister to West Bengal uh, been it has been sort of treated with in such a cavalier manner. Don't forget that Narendra Modi was Chief Minister of Gujarat for more than a decade, during which time, and no friends of him, Prime Minister Manmohan Singh, Congress President Sonia Gandhi, other central ministers, other Congress functionaries, Mrs. Gandhi's very highly gifted children, they have visited Gujarat a number of times. And full security arrangements, tamper-proof, foolproof security arrangements were provided to them. Um, as I said, it defies logic as to why Congress would want to do something like this because, end of the day, it comes back to haunt the country. It comes, and God forbid, if something would have happened today, even for stone to have been hurled at the Prime Minister's vehicle, the consequences would have been extremely distressing. So, what kind of a blood game are they trying to play? Although somebody would and very justifiably point out that don't forget that this is a party which also unleashed the 1984 massacre of Sikhs. Just
Yeah.
one slogan, "Badla Khoon," and that slogan then sort of fueled the wildfire.
Hmm. And yeah, Congress has I don't know what kind of a relationship with Punjab, but I don't know how to say this, but Congress party and Punjab, they're a lethal combination. And Punjab has you rightly pointed out, such a gory history when it comes to these political events. I don't know. It's just sickening. It sickens me, and which is why I wanted to start by talking about this. But now let's get into the subject that we were supposed to talk about. Now, obviously, we titled this Bloomberg's racist slide against India's because you recently wrote this op-ed in the Swaraj magazine. Now, so my first question about you would be, why did you choose to respond?
No, why I chose to respond is that it was, it's there is a pattern to it by now. The entire Western media, whether it is Bloomberg, whether it is New York Times, whether it is Washington Post, whether it is BBC, you name it, Economist, they they have somehow developed this pathological hatred towards Prime Minister Modi and the Modi government. That is one part of it. Second, and possibly deriving from it, they have developed this huge anti-India attitude, which which earlier used to border on being racist, and right now it is brazenly racist. So if you look at the latest bunk which has come out in the Economist, And they say that our count, that means economists count, shows that 5 million people died of COVID in India, the world's highest. So somehow, I don't know what is their count, what is the process of their count, but it is totally laughable. But this whole idea of portraying India in the bleakest of colors at a time when COVID and its new variant Omicron, they're roiling the West, they're screwing Europe, and people are going down in thousands, tens of thousands, and sort of the entire efforts of the European governments, the American government, they have come to naught. At such time, to suddenly pick on India and say, "Oh, never mind, but you are the worst." How are we the worst? Number one. Number two, this Bloomberg story, I mean, it was particularly offensive. The whole story was a very elaborate charade. It was a cover to make a single point that the Delta variant happened in India, that it was sort of born and incubated in India, and then India sort of exported the Delta variant to the whole world. And because of that, America suffered, and America continues to suffer, Euro suffered, and Euro continues to suffer, and wait for it. And I'm being serious that even China suffered on account of India. I mean, to sort of put out such rubbish, it needed to be contested. It needed to be contested very robustly with facts and figures, and facts and figures which have all along been in the public domain. Now, if you are not aware of them, if you choose to ignore them, and like I said, you are either blissfully ignorant or willfully deviant. So these are two choices, and I think they were willfully deviant. And third, beyond the point to continue to accuse India of intolerance, religious intolerance, some great violation of faith which is happening over here. The New York Times creed on Christians being persecuted as if this is all of India is now a great Roman circus, and the Christians are being fed to lions while Hindus cheer. I mean, that is awful. That is simply not true. And they will never do any research. They will never go into the background. They will never do any uh, assessment based on history. After all, this is a country which, to say the BJP has brought in uh, anti-conversion laws. First of all, there is no anti-conversion law. There are all these laws are protection of religion laws. These laws are designed and purposed to prevent conversion through allurement or through deceitful means. So if you are not doing conversion through allurement or deceitful means, you should welcome this law. I mean, I remember. I mean, when Vajpayee was the prime minister, something similar. This chant was heard at that time. Also, there was a whole this thing about how Christians were being freed and slaved, etc., etc., and the church was under attack. And I think the offense was that how can Ramakrishna mission missionaries or Ramakrishna mission monks be working in the tribal areas of Chhattisgarh, because those are areas where the church is involved. So this is the kind of bullshitting. I'm sorry to use this kind of language, but this needs to be called out. There has to be an end to it. Please feel free to criticize the government. Please feel free to justly criticize its policies. You are most welcome to do it. Nobody is trying to restrain you from doing so.
But as I said, two aspects of it. There are two common trends I always see this. Because usually the articles that come on in all these publications, they're usually written either by a brown person or by a brown person along with a white person. So it's either these combinations. And two, it is always around and about a time when the United States of America most of the time is going through a COVID surge. I'm not creating any kind of larger trend, but it's just coincidentally every time this has happened. But but to continue is that what does this insecurity, what does where does this attitude stem from? Is this their insecurity? I mean, why are they that worried that a country like India is developing that they need to criticize India so much, or is it just Indians who write these kinds of things and they're just self-hating till the extent that that's the only way they can make money now by ridiculing India? I mean, I was an Indian journalist. I don't want to take her name. She went to the extent of calling Indian citizens living in America parasites.
You have to understand. Uh, and perhaps this is not unique to India. I don't know. There is and there was always a certain class of Indians, the comprador bourgeoisie, and that class was always a collaborator class. I mean, don't forget, it's not that all of France had joined the resistance movement. there was the Vichy regime, and they were the collaborators. So there will always be collaborators, and there will always be Indians who will spit on their own country to seek validation or to seek sustenance or to seek the daily bread from the white man. This was true when we were under colonial rule. I'm sure there were collaborators when Aurangzeb was the emperor of India. I'm sure there were collaborators. I know for a fact that there were collaborators who were very happy to let down people, let down their own comrades, let down their own friends, brothers, families, when the crackdown on the original Naxalite movement happened. And there were definitely collaborators during the emergency regime of 1975-77, when friends were squealing on friends and colleagues were squealing on colleagues and brothers were squealing on brothers. So this is possibly a part of our genetic structure that we, as a nation, as a people, it doesn't strike us that by spitting on your country, you are also spitting on yourself, and that's why these these brown seppies who work for foreign media and run down their own country day in and day out, it doesn't surprise me at all. For me, I'm not one of those people who sort of celebrate every time some Indian origin child in America wins the spelling bee contest.
No, I totally get it. Apparently, the word I think that was used was not parasites; it was uh, termites. Not that somebody has corrected me in the live stream, but yes, well, whatever. So now, this whole, you touched upon this death. This has been a particular fetish. Let's dig a little deeper. But I also wrote a detailed piece analyzing, how these data coming. I started joking कि हाँ हम तो हिंदू हैं, हम पुनर्जन्म में मानते हैं, तो शायद हम लोग बार बार मर के पैदा होते जा रहे हैं, कुल में 5वीं 6वीं बार मैं भी पैदा होकर मर के पैदा हो गया होऊंगा वापस, शायद इसलिए हुआ होगा, पता नहीं क्या करें. एंड कॉमन सेंस की बात है. आई हैड रिटन इट देन आल्सो कि एक ही के चलो मेरे हिसाब से हो सकता है, एंड इट इज नॉट अ phenomenon about India. This is a phenomenon across the world. It could be that COVID deaths are counted less, and it could be a backlog issue. It could be 1.5 to 2 times 2x हो सकता है, इससे नहीं हो सकता है. मगर ये जो पेपर आते हैं, अगेंस्ट पेपर में भी co-authors Indian होते हैं. What is this fetish with Indian dead bodies? Is there some weird something going on there that they're so obsessed? I mean, same thing can happen with the funeral pyres. Right now, as of now, America has a million cases. Now, nobody wishes ill to anyone. I don't want Americans to die. I'm not that kind of human being. But the point is, nobody's going to fetishize death with Americans the way they do it with us. So, what is wrong with them?
So you see, have people died during COVID in India? Yes, of course they have died. Was there a time when too many people were dying? Yes, there was a time when too many people were dying. In fact, since we live in a time when the personal is political, my father died of COVID during the second wave. He died in Calcutta, and the travel was suspended during those days. I could not even go to see him in his last hours or after he died. So I am, it would be silly to say, oh, nothing happened. Of course, stuff happened, but like you pointed out, this whole thing of using drone cameras to sort of get grisly and hideous photographs of burning hearts where people were being cremated. This whole thing of using unauthorized manner. I don't think any of the media actually took permission to do so. Using unauthorized photographs of people grieving their dead. And of course, I mean, if a man loses his wife or his children, or a woman loses her husband or her children, or people lose their own family members, the grief is enormous. And I don't want to sound rude about this, but in India, just as we celebrate in a very loud and raucous manner, our grief is also very unrestrained, and we are quite unrestrained in our grief in as much as in our celebration. That's cultural with us, and I see nothing wrong with it. I mean, we are not the kind who will just go on TV and say, "Oh, mom, I'm sorry to miss you, mom. I will miss you, mom." No, we don't do it that way. We cry, we weep, and we use that to, harvest stories of horror, photographs that are hideous, to push your own readership and to carry money to your banks. And it's unthinkable. They wouldn't dare do it in America or in Europe. Would they dare publish photos of refrigerated meat trucks in which bodies are being stored? Let them show it. I will take back every word I have said. Let them show those photos. Let them show photos of how declared burial grounds where unidentified are buried, or the unclaimed bodies are buried. They have run out of space in America in those burial grounds. And till such time they can find alternative places to bury their dead, they are storing their dead bodies in meat trucks in which meat is transported. So, this whole discriminatory attitude, when it comes to the white West, they take a different standard, they assume a different standard. When it comes to the brown East, they drop those standards and everything goes. So that needs to be stopped. I don't think I have the power to stop it, or the cloud to stop it, but at least I can fight it. And that is why I have decided that every time I do this, I'm going to put out why it is so horribly wrong. Like this BBC story about 4 5 days or 7 days ago, they actually said that India's vaccination program has failed. I mean, either they are illiterate or they enumerate that they cannot count numbers or numbers mean nothing to them, whatever. But to say that it has failed, and it's the BBC, the British Broadcasting Corporation, which is the public broadcaster of Britain. If they were to just go and look at what is happening in Britain at this point of time, they would stop, putting up such rubbish about other countries. I know one could go on and on to say that Delta was incubated in India. I mean, what kind of a racist stuff is this?
Yeah,
So are
okay,
they
let us
say,
assume
but
Delta was incubated in India, but Chinese virus नहीं बोल सकते ना.
then question, they will not dare say, and they should never say, at least I would be horrified if they did say, but they will never dare say that Omicron is a Cameroon, was incubated in Cameroon, or wherever it came from. So, because then they would be, at home they would be blurry. So Black Lives Matter, yes, they should matter, but brown lives also matter, and they must matter.
I could agree more with you in this on this one, because I've seen a trend. So let us take this whole Omicron issue also. So if you look at South Africa, an honest nation, actually told the whole world, "Bhai, हमने genome sequencing किया, this is this new variant, blah blah blah." Look at the response of the West towards South Africa. There were variants in the past also. It was not like other countries were behaving like this. And I forgot the name of that poor lady who always comes. She's so nice. She gave all the information all the time. And she was like, the response from the West is just appalling. The way they have responded to us sharing information with them. We should all be thankful to South Africa, because those people shared information with us at such a timely moment. The world could do whatever it could. I'm not saying a lot, but whatever. That the South Africans were very forthcoming. But the attitude towards this is always. So do you think this is like a sign of fledgling civilization in the West, which is in its last moment, and the only way now they can find meaning in their life or feel good about themselves is somehow finding a way of sharing on others?
Yeah, in a sense, that's true. At home, they find themselves squeezed increasingly by immigrants who come in, and for a variety of reasons, they get the better jobs, they make more money, they lead better lives. They don't stand in the door queue, or they don't wait for welfare to buy their next meal. So that is one part of the story. The other part of the story, and you see, these are papers like New York Times, Washington Post, Bloomberg, or The Economist. These are papers which are also where establishments have a certain say, and those establishments definitely do not want to see India rise. They thought that COVID would destroy India, that COVID would haul India for the next few decades, that the Indian economy, the Indian story was over, the Indian economy was smashed. And when that doesn't happen, they again get back into the same game. I mean, look, if you remember the cartoon which New York Times ran after Mangalyaan.
Oh, yes, I remember it.
So, I mean,
Such a pathetic
that
one.
is how they look at India. That cartoon shows how the white man looks at India. And I'm again repeating it, that cartoon shows how the white man looks at the brown India. And I think this needs to be called out. This needs to be called out very forcefully, robustly, and bluntly. There is no scope for being polite anymore. New York Times piece on Christians under attack in India. They say, I mean, they don't even care to read what is the freedom of religion law, which exists in various states. They just very blithely call it anti-conversion law. They don't know that there are many of these laws. First of all, first such laws introduced at the time Mrs. Indira Gandhi was around as a prime minister. The Niyogi Commission report, which triggered the first such law, was when Jawaharlal Nehru was the prime minister. The Niyogi Committee report on rice bowl conversions in Madhya Pradesh. That was the report which triggered the first such law. Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru was the head of the government of India. There is a historical reason. There's a context. Many of these laws, including first quote unquote anti-conversion law, were challenged in courts. The Supreme Court has upheld these laws. There are, at least I'm not a lawyer. My knowledge of legal history is very restricted, but I am aware of at least two judgments by Supreme Court which very clearly state right to preach is not right to convert. So you cannot just substitute one for the other. So instead of discussing, please feel free to discuss these issues, discuss them in a critical manner if you wish to, but to sort of paint the country with a black brush, it doesn't. I mean, no, it's not only distasteful. As I said, it is racist. It's downright outright racist. What if there's an entire book which has been written by a Christian, about how the church, what the church thought of Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, the language, the vituperative language which church publications used about him, and how he was derided, denuded of dignity, and dehumanized by the church. If we were to throw it back at them, when Vasundhara Raje was the chief minister of Rajasthan, there was a huge uproar with international Christian organizations getting into a show about a pastor being arrested. Now, I will not repeat to you the contents of the literature which that pastor was distributing in Rajasthan. I could be hauled up under the law for repeating on a public platform the contents of that literature. All this doesn't matter. So if you want to report in a balanced manner, at least find out the facts, and I'll disclose something to you. Some weeks ago, maybe three weeks ago, I got a call from BBC, someone in the BBC,
Mhm.
saying that, can I please uh, arrange for a response to a story read? I said, unless you tell me what story you are doing, how can I arrange for a response? And back came the reply on rising religious intolerance in India. I said, what has happened in the last 1 week which gives you this idea? And there's this stand-up comic who thinks that it's very funny when people are burned alive, like they were burned alive in Sabarmati Express. She gave me his example, how people are not tolerant of his humor. I said, have you even read the Constitution of India? Have you even read the portion which puts out what free speech means in India? Have you read the IPC in India? Have you read the CRPC in India? So, if you want to do, if you're willing to do a story that the Constitution of India is a rotten document which should be buried, I will happily, I will give you a comment and response to the story. He said, "Oh no, we are public broadcaster. We cannot criticize the Constitution of any country. So you cannot criticize the Constitution which lays down the rules of governance in this country, but you must controvert uh, facts when those rules come into play to say that there is no tolerance in this country." The same thing, of course, is about the Constitution Amendment Act or the Citizenship Constitution Amendment Act. And over there also we saw people who had not bothered to read the act. It was a very brief act. They were all over the place saying, protesting against it, saying that it would disenfranchise Muslims in India, etc., etc. Whereas it had nothing at all to do with the Muslims of India or the Muslims of the world at all. And the West and the Western media, not that our media was the brown media was any better, but the white media sort of fueled that kind of misconception, misperception around the world. So
Yeah.
all the global statements that you saw coming out was because of the intentional, purposeful, racist reportage by the Western media at that point of time.
Yeah, I also want to add. No, you may not agree with me, but I don't know. I've felt this in coverage. Not only is it racism, I think there's some undergoing, and this I find within the atheist community and the believers, as they say. I think there's a little bit of anti-paganism in their mindset, and the only good pagan in my eyes in the entire Western discourse is a dead pagan, a pagan culture which they can fetishize and they can say, "हाँ, ये होते थे." Now, for them, this Hindu culture in India, and I don't know what else to use the word. I'm using the word Hindu loosely over here. Somehow fail to digest this, that this Hindu talks back also and kind of stands up for themselves also. Do you see at some level that there is also a lot of, I don't like the word Hinduphobia. I think it's an incorrect word, but slightly anti-pagan, anti-Hindu bias also in this.
Yeah, of course, that is there. I mean, if you see this handle, story of the Hindus, whatever it's called, very good handle. It keeps on reproducing old archival material about Hindus, HINDOOS, from American newspapers, American media. And you see, I don't think the Christian West was ever comfortable with the idea of a Hindu India. And um, to tolerate is one thing which I guess they do in their own countries, because